Hey guys, Eric Malcore here from Okayest Hunter. Back with the second installment of the video series that we're working on, seeing the tree stand through the forest, which is kind of a little play on words Eric came up with on seeing the tree through the forest, meaning amongst the vast forest or whatever area you're hunting, how do you pick the best location? So what I've been doing is carrying a camera around with me and just trying to film some scouting forays, trying to figure out actually a couple of specific bucks, one in particular that I'm hoping to catch up with this fall, a big giant 10-pointer. First thing, there's my vehicle. It's not parked in a parking lot. I'm parked alongside of the road. I just pulled off and I've got a spot about 150 yards from here that I've had eyed up on the map. So you can see busy road here. I made it this far into some brush where I don't believe there's a lot of people traffic, but immediately upon walking in, there is sign. Another fresh rub there, rub here. There is sign coming across here. So that was immediately just kind of a no-brainer. Oh my gosh, this overlooked spot that I've had on my radar here is probably better than what I thought it was. When you've got rubs right next to the road here, these to me look like some early season rubs, made, September, beginning of October, just if I had to guess. But it's coming through some brushy stuff. There are no big trees. Another rub here, some broken branches. There are no real sizable trees for tree stands out here, which is one of the reasons I wanted to come check it. Older rub. But that's kind of the goal. You can see a trail here. The goal is to get wherever the people aren't, bumping deer, moving deer, and kind of use those unusual little areas, those pockets of little human disturbance as kind of the starting spots for figuring out how to attack and jump in and get after some of these bigger deer. When you're on anything that's got high pressure, high human activity, the longer they live, the more these deer realize where they can go to escape all human pressure. So that's the goal. Trying to think outside the box and sort through a vast area to pick a few locations where a person might have a chance at getting a big mature deer in daylight to walk by them. So I'm just getting started here. I've got the GoPro also, but I just wanted to share that kind of cool little clip from right at the vehicle with all that sign here. So I can already tell in this thick, nasty, brushy stuff, there's gonna be a lot of deer in here. And the little finger that I want to look at, I'm sure is gonna have some bedding off of it. So lots of trails through here. Not sure I'll find a shed in here, but my plan was to check out this little spot. Ooh, almost fell. Check out this little spot on this side. And I actually was gonna hop up on the other side of the road where I parked. There is an area that was select cut a few years ago and has some really nice regrowth that looked like it might have some good south-facing ridges up in there for some bedding for just jumped a deer. Maybe with the low snow, maybe there'll be more deer in this low stuff than I think. All right, anyway, I'll come back at you when there's something notable. Another rub over here I'm gonna go check out. All right, I'll be back with you in a minute. All right, I'm a little ways out. I ended up not crossing the road yet. I just kept walking this low area out further and further and further, and I ended up walking it all the way out to where the brush kind of gives way to some grass, and then that gives way to some Phragmites. And it didn't really look great out there, some doe bedding, but I just came into a pocket, a little bit of brush and a couple of taller old poplar trees, and this is definitely a little buck hiding hole here. So this is what I was definitely looking for. There's a couple beds all the way around here at different locations. Lots of poop, fresh poop, old poop, and there's just beds scattered all over. So I definitely think that a buck was using this, but I feel like at times, but here, there's definitely does poking in here too, especially in this like winter. I think they're using this. I don't know if the buck's still in here, but the amount of broken off branches, and the rubs aren't huge. Probably another bed there, just shifting around, but right here it seems to be like the main bed. Really good back cover there. There's hair in it, and then all around it are snapped off rubs, branches. Just it's all busted up all over. So makes me feel like he's shoving a decent rack through here. I mean, all these branches are snapped. So it looks like he's got a exit trail right here, tons and tons of poop. Or this could be an entrance trail, I guess. But it goes out that way. So there's a little bit larger body of woods, not huge, but a little bit bigger trees over this way that I've not been in before. But it appears that it's exiting and probably entering on and off from there. And then it's still, whatever deer is doing this, has still got a decent ways to cross lowland stuff in the cover of darkness before it gets to that high ground on the other side. So I don't think there's going to be any way to ambush this deer from a tree. Another bed here on the tip. A couple of rubs in here. Some poop. I was hoping to pick up a shed yet, which could happen. But really, this has got my interest. This is a spot I'd definitely love to try to throw a sit or two at. To see if I can catch something coming in and out of here. So here's that main exit trail coming out of that little thick pocket where the beds were. Oh yeah. There's a bit of a trail crossing here. One comes out here, going into the bed there. You can see there's some broken off branches on this little tree here. And then there's a great little pocket right here of some popples right outside the bedding, so you know there's going to be rubs, and of course there is. So definitely looks like early season. This one's turned real gray, so early season. This is probably pretty thick, pretty high, all this grass, so I'm sure he's got lots and lots of cover out here. All these rubs look to be made about the same time. This one is really high. There's a limb broke up. I'm not a tall guy, but you can see how high that is right there. Okay, so the center of that rub is over my hips. This branch busted is close to head high. Another one here broken, rubbed up. So yeah, this spot has definitely got my attention. You can see coming on and off right here into that little pocket. But as you can see, there's no trees right here. So a person would have to sneak in and try to do a ground setup, which early season, the time frame those rubs are being made, I don't even know if a person could shoot through this. With all this grass standing up, it'd be really, really tough. So, I mean, that's the reason he's here, right? You just got to figure out how to make do. So I'm going to do a little walk around here, see if I can find anywhere where I could possibly set up and wait for him to exit that little bed and present me with a shot. I'm on an exit trail here. But I feel like, I mean, it's possible that this grass right in this little opening where those popples are would be short enough that if I was standing, even though right now I'm standing on ice, so I'd be lower in the fall when there's no ice, I'd be sinking in this mud bit. I don't know if it'd be possible to get a shot. But I'm gonna do some more snooping around, see if I can find a chink in the armor, as they say, find a spot where I could make an ambush. But that's exactly what I was looking for. Small isolated pocket of buck sign out away from the main body where it's hard to hunt. Oh yeah, he's definitely coming through here. There's a little trail running through here. This is coming right from where we were. You can see he's done some work here, destroying all these little willow brush, snapping them. No idea if this is the big guy that I was potentially after, but it's definitely a spot of interest. If I can find where this rub line leads to the mainland, a couple 100 yards over here, it'd be a great spot to hang a camera. Maybe throw a little mock scrape and a camera in there and see if I can get some pictures of what's living in this little isolated buck pod. And I'll have a better idea if that's the deer I'm trying to go after or if that's just a feisty 2-year-old. So either way, good find. That spot's going on Spartan Forge. Dropped a pin there already. I'm just kind of doing my due diligence and walking all the exit trails out, trying to figure out which way is preferred and what I could do for a setup. So that's where we're at. Hopefully I can pick up a shed here because there is quite a bit of fresh deer poop out here. So some deer have been out here. I don't know if it's one of the big ones, but we will find out. All right. I'm about in the same spot as the last video. I just came across that little waterway, but what I'm realizing here, really beat down trail. What I'm realizing and what I think I'll probably do is this trail is used really heavily. Coming across here, you can see it going up on the other side there. Seems to be a lot of activity crossing right here. A couple trails coming along the edge, and then a bunch of the rubs followed this edge. With this spot pinching down like it does, and the deer coming across here, what I'll probably do to monitor this area and get some pictures of what bucks are using it, not all of them, but a lot of deer are crossing right through here. So what I'll probably end up doing in the summer is taking a big dead stick, use something like these dead ones right over here, cutting one off 6 feet, and I'll sink it down into the mud and just bury it right in those sticks and run a camera shooting across the crossing and facing this side. So the deer are hopefully exiting here, not looking at the camera, walking away from it or walking this way. So they're never facing head on to my camera, which I found tends to make them notice it and spook. But I can get some pictures and I can just walk this waterway. I can walk the waterway right in to check it, so I'm not leaving any scent. So here running my camera would not hurt too much. And I'd still get a really good idea of what is coming across. And I know that buck is using this trail because the last rubs I showed you worked off down the edge. But as I came on this big trail, I thought maybe this was just doe trail. But there's definitely some bucks that take this one across also. So really productive afternoon scouting mission. Found secluded bedding area. Ooh. I just came out on this trail. Big trail that comes in here. So that makes me wonder. Oh, big rub up there. It's a little rub where these trails meet. But right here we got a pretty good split. We got trails that go up here. We got trails that go in here. I'm wondering if maybe this would be a good location to run the camera. I still like the idea of the water axis. Rub. I like the idea of that water axis so I don't leave scent when I check my camera. But man, these trails look pretty big. Yeah, these trails look pretty good. Here's a pretty nice heavy rub. And this is another example of you can't really judge those rubs by the size of the tree, because out there it was all marsh trees, so they're all small. As soon as that trail gets in here, it's a little bit bigger tree getting gouged up. So out there, don't worry about the size of the tree. Most of those trees are real small. Out in that thick stuff where you want to find them. But you can see as soon as we got on here, there, whatever buck that is nicking up a decent sized tree. So it's definitely not a 1.5 year old. He's something a little better. And putting my camera out here far enough away from the bedding would be a good way to check that out without spooking everything. So I'm gonna walk these trails out a little bit more, get to know this area a little bit better, so I can see how the deer are using it to help inform where I would indeed hunt. So there we go. Well, interesting development. As you may have guessed, on public land in southern Wisconsin, I'm not the first one to find that spot. I backtracked all of the trails that had rubs coming out of that bedding area, and it led me to this tree, which is a dead popple, maybe 110 yards from the bed. I can see the tree that the bed is close to. Picked out this tree to shoot the best trails, and right there is an old tree peg. I don't think anyone's hunted this tree in a while. It's pretty beat up, pretty dead, and pretty crooked. I would get in this tree, and I do plan on getting in this tree, but someone else got in this tree a long time ago, which is pretty cool. There are some rubs that lead right to this tree, but there are also some trails that cross within bow range, within 35 yards, that I think I could shoot to. So although I'd love to be a little bit closer to that bed, I think this is the closest I can get without messing it up. And because there's a little wet area behind me that I'm thinking would probably be wet in the fall. Pretty good crossing right here. I think I could get in here without leaving too much scent too. I think I could kind of walk that waterway in and not leave any ground scent, so I could hunt it potentially a couple times. Hopefully, if needed, before any of those deer would really get spooky and suspicious. So that's what I got. Of course, it's never as fun when you see sign from somebody else, but could be a good omen. Who knows? Could be a good omen, and that's the lucky tree. Somebody had a similar idea, so it's kind of cool when that happens. But I'm gonna keep scouting here. I'm gonna go head toward the kind of the main ground, see if there's any sign in there from winter feeding. Hoping to pick up a shed here before I get back to the vehicle. But yeah, found a tree. Not sure if it'll work or not, but I definitely am gonna throw a hunt at that. So pretty happy with what I found. Now to get across this and kind of work my way around, see if I can find any more signs. So far, short amount of time after work, but pretty successful. Happy with what I found. I keep on walking if I don't slip off this slippery, wet log. Woo! Gotta love these wet ones. No bark. Slippery as could be. Oh. All right. Oh yeah. She is slick. That's how you do it, folks. Can't believe that, actually. That actually kept me dry. All right. Ooh. Oh yeah, he's definitely coming across on that creek crossing. I just crossed that tree that I liked. It's right back there. I don't know if you can see, but right next to that little blowdown, there's a big crossing that comes across here. And as soon as I got in this low stuff, the deer definitely like crossing here too. And looks like that buck is coming across the water and potentially staying down in this little bit thicker stuff. Maybe he's getting here while it's still light. I don't know. But a couple of rubs as he works his way across out to the mainland. So not terribly far from the road. Rub from last year. Not terribly far from the road, but I think with this water here, that tree's a little nicked up, and I think they feel pretty safe. So, all right, I'm gonna keep going. And cross that waterway, but also another crossing dumped into it. Looked like a great area to monitor activity from afar without getting into the actual bedding area, still keeping that barrier of water between human intrusion and kind of their safe zone. So from there, I went up into what is the chunk of timber, the larger timber, kind of like hardwoods. And I started walking up into the timber, decided to stay a little bit closer to the transition edge. So what you're seeing here are a pretty good amount of rubs right along the transition, creating a rub line that I continued to follow along the edge of the hardwoods. At the bottom transition where the hardwoods gave way to the marsh and the alders and willow brush, it was about, I'd say, 8 to 10 feet in elevation change from that edge to the higher ground up above. The high ground hardwoods was kind of full of buckthorn, very grown over, pretty brushy understory for the amount of large oaks that were in there. There was a mix of red oak and some really big white oaks, which was intriguing. I didn't see any acorn caps fresh from this past year, so hoping that next year looks pretty good. I did find a point along that extended out. I had a really good trail coming across the waterway from the bedding area. That trail dumped into a point. It actually had two trails, both of which were within shooting range of a really nice living popple tree that was out further from the bulk of the woods. It was extending out toward the marsh by about 10 feet, so it had really good shooting to it. I marked that, not on the map you're seeing, but I marked that in in my app on my phone, and there were some good rub lines coming in, but the main rub line followed that edge of the high ground, so I continued to follow it. This is going away from human access, so I assumed that rub line was going to lead me to maybe another buck bedding area, and I got to a narrow pinch where there was some willow brush extending across an open area and toward a more distant group of trees. So I had assumed that there would be some buck bedding off of that other island, but what I found was the rub line that led right out actually led to a bed, and that is the grouping of pretty good size, kind of shaggy barked rubs, and the bed that you see on the video was actually located in the point of the brushier willow and alder, and not off the edge of the high ground there by very far. It was actually almost equidistant to the opposing high ground as it was to the one that I came off of, which I really, really liked, because there was actually a couple of good trees right at the point that I would be able to set up on a buck that was coming toward that high ground with the white oak. So if those are dropping, I think that's a great point to possibly intercept them as that deer comes along either transition on either side of that point. So that's what that last video, or the video is looking at, that's following the rub line, comes across that bed, and then all I did after finding that last bed, made a little loop through the opposite side, that different high ground area that I hadn't walked, and I came back across that area and worked my way through some of the timber and went back toward my vehicle. There was a couple nice rubs that were up in that oak area, looking like some deer coming up there to feed. I assume those were nighttime rubs, but that just kind of confirmed what I was hoping, that these deer were coming across the marsh into this edge and feeding on, hopefully, acorns next year. So that was a good day of scouting. Big takeaways were follow the sign back into the thick areas that are isolated. Really no good trees to hunt from, which led to the best buck sign that I had found. And that's where they're hiding out, where they have no human intrusion. They don't get a lot of human people walking back there because the area is devoid of trees. So people aren't even interested in looking if you can't set up a tree stand and hunt there. Obviously, that tree that I looked at, somebody did hunt there. It was not a great tree, but somebody knew that that's where they needed to be to make it happen. Old setup in there, so I'm hoping that maybe that setup could work for me. But I also found a couple other spots, 2 other trees that I would be excited to hunt back there. So that was the mission. That area, a little bit further away from the main target area that I've been looking at, but I've had that on my mind. So it turned into, well, it's time to go see it and check it out and see what it really looks like. So I'll be back to cover some more ground in between that spot and the spot that I originally walked. But overall, learned a lot, found some good spots, so it was everything that I hoped it would be. All right, see you on the next one.